Hello and welcome to my world of crochet. It's 2 p.m. and it's Monday. I am looking forward to hanging out with you all today and do some crafting. I've currently two real whips and a third possibly ongoing whip. The third one I did decide to do a swatch just to be sure. And the quick math tells me I probably need a few more stitches in the round to ensure it has the right length, so to say. That is the quick conclusion here. Good morning, Megan. Nice to see you. I hope you're having a wonderful Monday morning and that work will be kind to you today. We are still waiting for this week's sales on Hobbii. I hope that the twisters obviously will go on sale. The twister solids, that should be tomorrow, but I don't know if the twister solids will be included by then. And within the birthday coupon thingy, the other alternative I have is to wait for next week's Tuesday to see what they have there. So I am going to see if that could work together with possibly my birthday coupon, and else no shopping. So there is that, of course. So the Heart Clicker show has been put on hold until I have obtained those solid colors, which are closer to the outer edge of the cake. Because I have this idea, it could be still very nice making it with those. And henceforth, I refuse to pay 12 euros for a cake when I know I can get it for close to half the price, or at least 40% off. So we're going to hold on for a bit for that. And else that said, I have 2 inches to go on my chunky rib knit beanie. I have finished up a bit more on the Daze Bag. So another skein has been gone and done and dusted. And I did swatch for the Simple Yet Effective Cowl. So the current works of progress, so to say, is, as I said, we need another 2 inches on this one. So that will be an easy option. I did work on this weekend while watching some TV. But not yet finished. I guess it's a combination of me. Sometimes I do need to look a bit more when I am knitting compared to when I'm crocheting. And depending on what we're watching, sometimes I do need to pay attention to what we're watching, but sometimes when we're watching, listening can kind of do the trick. So we are still kind of like 2 inches of that. And I'd like to kind of keep it like this and maybe have this for my project, because tonight we have something we're watching again, which is on TV tonight. So I may need to just kind of hold off to that and have that as an evening project, unless we go totally bored in the rest. Then I have, as mentioned, the Daze Bag, where I am using my 4.5mm crochet hook in this very lovely recycled cotton from We Love Yarn. The great thing about this yarn obviously is the great price that you can get it at. When it's for sale, it's like €/$1 per skein. Sorry for you guys in the US with tariffs, but for a recycled cotton, I think it's a good price. And as you can see, we are actually moving downwards in the sense of we got them sewed together last time during the live. And right now what we're doing is basically adding some body to the bag towards the bottom. And it's basically a row of single crochet and then it's a row of double crochet, but you work them alternate round. So every time here at the side, I will have to like kind of switch around. So if my working round is right now, it's been like this, like I would come from here and go over here. Then the next I would have to flip it around to do the double crochets. So that's pretty much how that's been going so far. And then, of course, as I said, I did do a little bit of a test swatch. Hello, Susan. Hello, Helen, and hello, Revenant. I would say good morning, good afternoon. I hope you're having a great day. This looks crazy, I know, but that is because, as I said, I ended up doing a test swatch. They did write it in the pattern, and I decided, yeah, maybe I should use just in case. It does want to curl because obviously it is stockinette. But here we go. This is how the yarn works up. At least. Trying to give it a decent look. I think the swatch is nice, but it's definitely smaller on the length than the pattern says. So we have two options today. I continue to work on the Daze Bag, or I try to calculate how many stitches I need and cast on. So I did not check the height. So it's basically, the pattern says 22 stitches by 28 rows should give 4.4 inches. Right now, I'm on about 3.5 inches. So it's a bit on the shorter end. And given the fact that I was thinking I wanted it to be like a double cowl, like the one I have underneath, is basically wrapped twice, then I just want to make sure it's long enough to actually do that, because else it would be like really, really roomy or spacious without that. The height is less important. I think because it's just a question of doing one more repeat if you think it needs to be a bit higher in the height. Susan is suggesting that I could size up my needles. So I'm already sized up compared to what the yarn recommends. The yarn recommends 3mm needles. I'm on 4, which is what the pattern recommends. I could try to go to 4.5, if that's what you mean. Are you sure, Susan? Because you say that it's not for double wrap cowl, but when I read this, materials simple shown, blah blah blah. Cast on 110 stitches or 248, and then join in the working round, which is basically, if you do 148 stitches, that would be more than the so it's, you can choose between a short and a long one, so you can make a wrap version. You can make a wrap version. That's what I'm reading from this. So the cowl can be like this one, like it can be wrapped or double layered. You can choose. So the one she has on in the photo is probably the single round, but the 248 stitches is a lot. So I think that's for a double fold. And if I need to do 22 stitches to reach 4 inches in stockinette, I would have had to have 25.14 stitches, which is obviously not possible. So the idea I've had is basically to say that's 25. To some extent, it may stretch a little because you can pull a little in it to get it on, and then do the calculation. So if I do normally 248 stitches for the big one, and the reason I'm going for the big one is because that fits with the yarn I have left. Then I'm kind of like, I can finish the yarn and it's gone and it's done and it's just out of my stash. So that's what I'm thinking here. And I can always do the extra row, so to say, or the extra repeat. if I'm close to having it all consumed. So that's what I really like about it. So normally, if we say 22 stitches to 248, that would be 11.27 multiplied by 4. So it's going to be like 45 inches long, which kind of fit with the length of the wire they suggest. Well, it fits with the 45 inches around. So to say, that's what I wanted to say. So that means right now, if I instead get, so I need to have 45 inches, but I only get 3.5 on those 45 inches. So 45 inches divided by 3.5 is 12.85 multiplied by 22. That gives 282 stitches instead of 248. And 280 would probably also cut it. That's my thinking. So I wanted to cast on 280 stitches. My goodness, it sounds like a lot. And then row 1 to 3 is purl, then 4 to 12 is knit. And then it's basically repeat, repeat, repeat until the cowl is the height you have. It says until the piece measures 9.75 inches. But I'm thinking it would make sense to cast on 280 stitches then, because that fits the large size here, which is 45, which is, oh my goodness. Of course, I'm lost on the chat because I'm reading everywhere at once. Susan says, use the needles meant for the yarn. I can't because I don't have needles that small. 4 millimeters are my smallest needles on this. And if I have to go to my aluminium needles, and that's 3.5. And then it will get even smaller. But I think looking on the fabric I've produced with these 4 millimeter needles, I think it's pretty okay, actually. It doesn't look like too airy, or what do you think? It is like somewhat airy, but it is also a thinner yarn, but it's not like super airy. I'm just gonna pull out 45 inches. Oh my goodness. We're talking about, it's gonna be like this far round. In the round, I'm quite sure this can go on double if you wanted to, or close. Alternatively, of course, I'll do the small one, which isn't a bad idea either, but then I'll have to make 2 of them. It just seems that's 115 centimeters. Just for funsies. Actually, I have a better idea, which is probably going to be less invasive on my throat. Just measure this one. Because that's a kind of the concept, right? Like, if it's big enough, that's basically what you would do, and you have like a double layered one. And I think that's the idea of it. So I'm just going to measure this one. I have no clue how long it is, but we'll just start from the start, and then we'll bring it all the way around. It's going to be short then. You're going to miss like this much. So maybe indeed it's not for a double layered one. But then if that's the case, there's no need for me to make a large one. I just need to make sure it's big enough to get over the head. And then I can go for the small one, which is really nice given the fact that I think casting on 280 stitches is a lot. So actually, I'm quite happy about that. I mean, so this actually just helped me not getting disappointed. Literally. I am not disappointed. So if I need to gain towards the 20 inches finished measurements, and 3.5 is my 22 stitches, I'll divide that 20 inches by 3.5. And that gave me 5.71. And then I'm going to now multiply by 22 stitches, which gives me 125, 126. So instead of casting on 110, I'll cast on 126. And that should give me 20 inches around. Well, actually, I like that plan much better than casting on a crap ton of stitches. This is how I do knitter's math, I guess. Susan says, if you want to make a double wrap cowl, this is not the proper pattern for that style. This pattern is for a simple single layer neck cowl like a turtleneck. The number of cast on stitches is the circumference to go over your head and around your neck. It's basically a tuber around your neck. Basically, kind of like this, except this one is folded, right? Because this is also just a tuber around my neck. So I need it to be large enough to pass my head, which at 20 inches, well, my head is bigger than that. My head is more like 22 inches. So I should probably actually tack for 22 then instead of 20. Just to make sure I have enough, which means we need to make new knitter's math. We go 22 inches divided by 3.5, because that is, again, back to my 22 cast on stitches with 3.5 inches. That is 6.28 multiplied by 22 stitches to get the amount of stitches, which would be 138 stitches. So probably more like 140. Okay. I don't see any illustration for that. It just says sizing and materials, and that's it. It doesn't say anything. It just says, you know, a very basic sizings, long or short, finished measurements, and that's it. Hello, Rikke. So I think you might have a different pattern than I do. But yeah, so that's my quick math is telling me that I definitely need to cast on more stitches, because $138, 140. So, like, if I really stretch this, and pull it, I can make 4 inches, but I really need to pull and stretch. So I'm thinking I just need to make sure it fits across my head. No? The illustration is on the website. Oh, that could be. I'm just really good at downloading and then not looking further. Yeah, okay. So that's the thing. You need to be able to pull it over your head. But what circumference do you want to have around your neck? That's a good question. That is, it feels tight. I need to take my shawl off again. Oop-biddy, biddy. Because obviously my shawl makes me neck a bit thicker than what it is in reality. Now we're just doing the theoretical 20 inches, which would be like this, basically, right? That's kind of ish okay. I'd probably do something in between, maybe 21. Then we'll go back to the knitter's math. Yeah, I have to say, while I'm quite happy with the poncho I bought last month, it does feel scratchy around my neck. The material is not like the I like to have my cotton thing in between. Okay. We are heading back to the knitter's math. Let's just say 21. It gives you a little bit more breathing space. I like that thought. 3.5 is 6. That's actually quite nice. Multiplied by 22, that's 132 stitches. Okay, fair. Cool. That makes good sense. That makes good sense. 132. Because I do believe you agree that by looking at the fabric itself, except for the curly bit, that looks pretty okay, right? I've just been doing back forth, so run row knit, run row purl to get the stockinette. Cast on and go. Well, first we'll take off this project. So I can and I'm going to tell you another secret what I'm doing. I'm going to cast on a bigger needle. My goodness. Yeah, tension isn't my issue, except for the fact that I still am a tight knitter. But it's even. My tension is even. So I'm just gonna keep a little bit of track of the other end here because it's a lot of yarn. But I am gonna cast on a slightly bigger needle. So I am knitting on my 4mm, but I'm gonna cast on my 4.5. Due to the simple reasoning that I have this lovely set. And that is because that gives me a little bit more room for the first row, because else it's gonna be really tight. I was taught as a child that you can also cast on 2 needles at the same time. That's also an option. I did this swatch cast on this 4.5 and that went okay. So that's why I'm thinking I'll be fine with the 4.5 to cast on with. And oopsie. The wire should be fine, I think. The only question is if I may want to use my shorty needles if I find the wire is just on the edge of what I want. We'll figure that out as we go. But first I'm just gonna do the wire with an end cap. I have a feeling it's not gonna be needed, but just in case. Just in case. So we're just rewiring my wire with the right end. 4.5. Yeah, we are going on. Do you want the camera down to see me casting on? I don't think that's important, but if you really want me to see me cast on, sure, I can put my camera a bit down. I do think it would be, well, I can do that for you guys. Ta-ta, give me one moment. So this is my workstation as how we are looking so far. And don't forget to grab something to drink, my friends. So as said, I'm going to cast on 132 stitches, which means you're going to have 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, and 120 to help me count stitch markers. Hallelujah. So I may cast on a bit different than some of you are used to. I'll do a slip knot, which I'm placing on my knitting needle. We are fiddling away that end. What I'm basically doing, because then I don't need to measure up the ends and do the fancy knotty thingy, which I could have done. But instead, I will go into the slip knot. That is, if it allows me to do. It seems to be fiddling for me today. I'll go into the slip knot because I really like this way of casting on, because I don't need to, I always know how long my end will be to weave in, because that's just how long I make that tail. And then I'll basically kind of cast them on as I go by going in, picking up the yarn. You could also do it with a crochet hook and putting it over the working needle. So that is how I cast on. And I will show you once I'm kind of like done with casting these on, because you can actually see that it looks like a regular classic cast on. And I really like this, especially if you have to cast on like a lot of stitches and you're really in doubt if you got enough yarn pulled out to do that with the double end cast on. Yeah, the long tail cast on, exactly. That was the word I was looking for, thank you. So this is just like, this is the first, 7 stitches cast on. So this looks like a very classic, if you look at the bottom, how they are cast on, very classic normal cast on. I'm going to show you my rib knit beanie cast on bottom part. Just need to make sure I don't tangle it all up, or even worse, have the stitches drop off. But that's basically my edge bottom here with that cast on. It looks like this. Quite normal cast on. So that is worth a try. It is super simple. It is a little bit like the first few stitches casting on is a bit fiddly, but once you pass those, it goes really easy. And the only thing you want to do and make sure is that that last stitch you put over the end of your working needle. Make sure it's a bit loose, because then you can easier get in here and grab the next. And then while doing so, it will automatically stretch the prior. I'm not sure if I can do this up close, but I'll try to. So basically I go in, I pick up the yarn, pull it through just as if I would knit it, pull it up and place it on top of the needle. Then I'll go into that loop, pull up the yarn, pull it through, putting it on top of the needle, right? That is my way of, whoops, I was splitting the yarn here. That's a challenge. You need to, in this case of this yarn, and that's basically how I'm casting it on. And I need to count for a bit because now we're talking, so I forgot the counting part. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. We need another 8 before we place a stitch marker to help me count to 132. So we're on 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So before I'm placing that stitch marker, I'm just gonna prep for the next, because I'm basically subconsciously aware that I won't pull it too tight because it's gonna be so fiddly to get my needle in there to pick up the next stitch if you already pull it tight on the needle. We're just double checking here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. That doesn't, I skipped something. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20 matches. That was better. So that's basically how I do this one. I don't know if you learned something today, or if it's something you're willing of trying, or if you prefer whatever you're doing already. But well, that's how I'm approaching it. I learned to knit with a long tail cast on. And there is also ways to help you ensure you have the amount of yarn you need for that. There's also tips and tricks, but I actually like this. I kind of got used to it. It works for me. And I guess that's the most important. You need to do what's working for you. But it's also what I love about crafts, right? We can do everything that makes it worth for us. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. We're halfway through. This yarn is really thin, so it is definitely going to be a patience project for me. And I am wondering how I am best possible going to handle counting the rows, because I don't actually have a physical row counter. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That said, I should be able to count rows. It's just, I don't know if there's an easy method instead of physically counting. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Oh, I need to do that again. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. And as I said, I sort of already prep the first stitch that I cast on after I place the stitch marker, simply because due to this method, it else can get a little bit the stitches can get a bit skinny or pulled tight, which is also why I choose a little bit larger needle to cast on with. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, oh, come on. No. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19, oh, 18, sorry, 19, 20. I need to watch out. That's no wonder my stitches doesn't match if I can't even count normally. I'm supposed to do. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Perfect. We're kind of ish halfway. Paper, pencil, cylindrical row counter that slips on needles, digital counter on finger, and printed spreadsheet number boxes. Yeah, I'm thinking I may need to get my old Post-its forward and just put lines, basically. And then I really hope that the cowl won't curl too much, given the fact that we do have the ribs in between. That is my little hope. Ta-ta. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I'm actually thinking, because we're doing it at just 20 inches width, this is going to be way too long. So I'm definitely going to have to change wire. So before I enter the wire, I maybe should do that. then I'm thinking I should have my, this is actually like, this is with this wire is like, let's just compare total length. So I need to watch out for my stitches. Total length of this will be more than 20 inches, including those. So that's not going to work out. But I do have just, this wire should just be the model's shoulder. Ta-ta. And that should fit much better. Plus I can put the shorties on if I want to. So that is what we are going to do. So before I'll continue the cast on here, I'm going to squeeze this a little bit. And I am going to use the other wire. And that's the reason for this is because, of course, when I did the original calculation, I was talking about wanting to make the large size. So I was like, I'm needing a longer wire for this. But now I'm quite happy that I got this shorter wire for Christmas. Thank you, Mom, for giving me what I wanted. So like that. We have the shorter wire on. And I'm just going to grab the end cap. Actually, I have one there too, so I could just use that. Yeah. That's, oh my goodness, that almost fell to the ground. That is definitely a benefit, having interchangeable needles. And that also makes it easier because, as I said, I'm casting on with a bit bigger needle. Plus, ideally, I would like to knit with my normal sized ones. So these are, yeah, the regular size. So they're like 11.5 centimeters. I have no clue how long are they in inches. No idea. They are 4.5 inches. Approximately, where my shorties are definitely shorter. And ideally I would like to use my, I do feel when I'm knitting that a little bit more length would be nice, but it's not like the shorties is nice because of the short circumference, so it could be that I end up throwing the shorties on this one as well. I am not completely decided on that. Susan says she rarely knits on straight needles. Okay, now I need to make sure I don't drop this. I think we had counted to 20 here, but I am gonna recheck. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19. Apparently not. We count. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. I stick to 19, so one more stitch we have to do. And that's all right. And then we'll pull up the next for the stitch marker for the easiness for me. We have the first 80 stitches cast on here, of course. 20, 40, 60, 80. The stitch markers isn't showing that well on the screen, I'm sorry. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. I do, sorry that I pull a bit back while casting on, but it gets a little bit like... So we're going to knit together soon as well. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. We are getting there. I'll admit casting on is maybe not my favorite process of things because it takes forever and all the counting. And right now, as I said, I'm quite happy actually I did an option for the bigger one. But that means I could make 2 smaller ones maybe with the yarns I have left. We'll see. So we have the first 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So we'll count, and then with everything being right, I should just need another 12. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Yes. Oh, yes, I can relate. Revenant says my least favorite things is to do long chains and working into them. Starting something. That's why I sometimes prefer making the foundation chain in the sense of a foundation, single crochet, double crochet row instead of chaining and then working into the chain. It takes about the same time for chaining the whole row and then do all the stitches into those as it just does to make the foundation part. And sometimes it works out nicely as well. Depends on, of course, the actual pattern. But I like, especially if I have to work double crochets into them, I think making a double foundation double crochet row is so much easier than making a foundation chain and then working the double crochets into the stitches. Plus, I think it gives a much nicer edging. That is, you need to be very like your tension needs to be very even to do that. So you don't pull too much in it or it will slant. 2, 4, 6, 7. So we need 5 more stitches. Because yes, it is fiddly. Susan asked, do you use the one extra cast on stitch to join method? Yes, I do. So that's actually a good point. And there are 2 ways of doing that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that should be 12. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, plus an extra. Well, I want to I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put on my shorty on this one, and then I can always option to still go on my long ones, if that makes sense. That is my holding end, so that needs to get downsized too. Or should I just throw shorties on both of them? Choices, choices, my friends. Yeah, it's similar, definitely similar. So the thing is, Susan, right now, there's two ways of doing the double stitch method. One is just doing one stitch in, like do 2 stitches in one, or there's the one where you kind of like slip it over and put it over-ish, which I tried once and I felt it made like a huge gap. So if I'll do that one, last time I tried, I had to frog my whole thing afterwards. Ooh. My shorties, just to compare. That's the length difference between my shorties and my long ones. But let's grab the shorties because it's a shorter piece. I think I am gonna use the shorties then, maybe, because it is also a shorter it is a shorter wire. The slip over method, yeah, that's what I was considering, and last time I tried it, it went awfully wrong, and the only way I could kind of fix that was to recast on the whole thing, which really made me cry. That was for my ribbon beading that I'm currently working on. But maybe this will work better up. Maybe we can hope. But as I said, we're just putting on the shorties on both. Yeah, but the problem is I can't pull the tail in the working yarn. Pull on the tail of the tail, because that's a slip knot. And it's not. So if I pull here, it's not going to make a big change. Maybe that's the issue then. That if I want to use that method, I can't cast on like this. Could that be it? That wouldn't sound too crazy to me, actually. So I did the knit 2 stitches together for joining here, which still needs a little bit of end weaving in, but once that's done, it's still kind of okay-ish, I guess. Well, the optional is I'm just gonna get some yarn out here. My goodness, after all these stitches cast on, it's almost the same amount of yarn as I had used for my test swatch. It does seem that something, I don't know. Susan says she feels that she feels that the slip knot kind of makes a bump, which could be the case, most definitely. I think I'm just gonna go with what I know, because this is a lot of stitches to cast on again. If when I'm looking at this right now stretched out, I'm like, I think I'm gonna do that, because I really will cry if I have to cast on these two stitches again. I think I can fix that by weaving in thens nicely. I feel I'm able to fix that by doing that. So now I need to check how is it that I do it, because the first row says basically to purl. Yep. Susan does agree with me. Keep going. Don't do anything new now. Thank you. Yeah, I'm trying not to do too many new things, because if I want to try something new, I should definitely try that with something easier, or with not as many stitches. Let me put it like that. So now we are just purling 132 stitches. I'm just thinking, should I have had slipped over that stitch? I probably should have. It's okay, I'll be fine. That was also a way of doing it, of course. That could have been interesting too. Anyhow, we are smooth sailing, and I need to remember that once we get all the way around, I need to add a stitch marker at the start of that round. So right now I'm just taking off my stitch markers, because I trust that I indeed did correct counting. Why wouldn't I have counted correctly? I have to say, one thing that I do really like about this so far is the fact that, oh goodness, did pull a bit too much in these stitches. You need to get over the edge here. And not all of them are as equally keen to collaborate. Is that it's all the same. So, you know, when I do a row, there is no counting. It's just the same stitch all the way of the round. Is something that I'm really gonna be happy with. Because it's a mindless project, you know. So it is a project where I can probably also do this one in the couch if I just remember to draw a line or something like that every time I do a row. I like simplicity. No thinking. Me like no thinking. Oh my goodness. This is always the first row. especially when I stretched out the stitches a bit. I shouldn't have done that, but it's getting better. What I should do, actually, because we just talked about that, but where is it? I need to find my note block so I can make lines for the rows to help me count. I definitely need help counting. Anyhow, it was really cold here this weekend. Like, it was in the begin 20s degrees Fahrenheit. Like, chill, 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 chill. I joined the round at the end. At the very end, I'll join. I'll knit 2 together and I'll join. That's how I've done so far. We're not there yet. I haven't done the full first row yet. I'll join at the end of the first row. The pattern says work in the round, and I'm working in the round once I'm done. So once all these stitches, they will come across and they will be joined at the very end. At the very end, with the very last stitch, I'll join up the 2 ends. Don't worry. This is also how I start when I work on the rib knit beanies in the round. So we should be fine, or I should be fine. But I'm probably doing it different than you are. I guess that's what I like about knitting. So many roads leads to Rome. Same goes for crochet. I remember when I was doing one of the first lives I ever did with Fleur, somebody also made the comment to me that they found that I did it very interesting when it came to the front post and back post, not front post, back post, but the front loop and back loops. But yeah, it's just a question of doing the same. Susan cast on and join the round, and then you start stitching. Yeah, okay. That's what I tried, and that turned into a mess. Basically. This requires a little bit, like when I will weave in this end, I will have to do it so that it kind of covers it up a bit, so to say. But usually it's not a big issue. I'll find my hat in a minute because I did it in the exact same way as I'm doing here. I did with the rib knit beanie. Actually, I'm gonna push your guy back a little bit. Let's see here. Ta-ta-ta-ta. I did the same here. So what is of course, when I am going to weave in this end, I am going to join it a little nicer up here. But generally, this is how my end looks. But I will practice with some easier yarn in that event, because I do think it is better to indeed join before you start going around. But this is not the yarn to practice with. This is not the yarn to practice with. That is one thing for sure. Not the yarn to practice with. It's too thin. It's too tiny. It's too fiddly. It's merino. Actually, one of the things I recall as an issue which I have with the sweater I have in this exact yarn is that I can go a little bit static at times. Though the sad story is that I probably need to lose about 10 pounds to at least 10 pounds, 15 pounds to decently fit the t-shirt, to fit the sweater again. So next winter would be a good goal. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, realistically speaking. But yeah, it's been really cold this weekend here in the Netherlands. So Friday we had lots of rain that kind of helped melt the snow, and then it started freezing again. And that turned everything kind of really slippery. This morning they had red coat warnings for if you were going to drive, because many places in the country they would have the streets would look as if they would be really clear and there would be nothing wrong, but it would be like black ice on top. Yeah, the weather has definitely shown itself from its cruelest side, so to say. But yeah, Susan, let me show what I'll do in just a few stitches. We are heading towards this end. We do have still another, like, I don't know, 40 some odd stitches, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. 40, almost 50 stitches. I wouldn't have believed there were so many. This is actually going okay on these small ones. They're also a bit longer due to how they're connected, so it's not too bad, these shorties, actually. The weather for New Jersey is sunny with a temperature of 32 degrees Fahrenheit. That's just around 0 degrees. So the wind is blowing from west at 10 miles per hour and the humidity is 57. It's not sunny here, it's just gray. Gray, but it's thaw. So it's definitely getting better. So a part of me is really happy it was really cold, because hopefully some of all these bugs we have in the summer will be less, because they die during cold winters. So that would be really nice in that event. Were last week lots of flight cancellations from the airport, so I was really happy I hadn't scheduled any flights to go home. No, I don't need to move this one with me. I need to drop this one off. We have 40 stitches to go before it's time to join. But technically 39. You could just quickly check the weather here. I do believe it's still thawing. And don't forget to hydrate. The weather in Nijmegen currently is 42 degrees Fahrenheit. That's equaling 6 degrees Celsius. The wind is blowing from south-southeast at 10 miles per hour and the humidity is 91. And it's cloudy, which that I will agree with. It is cloudy. It is definitely cloudy outside. So what I do like about working in the round is not needing to turn the knitting needles back and forth. And You don't need to worry too much about edges, like how the edge goes. So that is definitely a thing that I will like. This is though a lot of stitches. It is probably the longest in the round amount of stitches that I have been knitting ever since I started knitting again. I don't know if I even made this long project stitch-wise back when I was younger. I don't think so. I think some of the basics I did was just knitting 10 stitches back and forth with scrap yarns from my parents, like my mom or my grandmother. Sounds like something that would likely have been me. So we have a 20 to go, technically more like 19, because I have this extra stitch. Are getting there. It is fiddly. What we also need to do, I need to find my my post-it notes, which is where I tend to keep track. Now, just before I am gonna, we are gonna do a few things here. First of all, where are my post-it notes? Oh, wait, there. Give me one moment to get me stretched up. Oh, not even. Where did I put them? Oh, here. Good. We have one row. Haha. First of all, I need to make sure that, first of all, I have some yarn to work with, but that the whole thingy isn't twisted, because this looks like some of this has probably twisted around. So I first need to make sure that it's all not twisted. So this is not twisted. Oh my goodness. It does really want to twist me, doesn't it? Yay, we are untwisted. I have a feeling that Helsingborg in Sweden is cold compared to here. In Helsingborg. It is currently 29 degrees Fahrenheit, so equaling -2 degrees Celsius. The wind is blowing from east-southeast at 11 miles per hour, and the current humidity is 80, and it's mostly cloudy. So it's almost similar to here, except it's a bit warmer here. Okay, so we untwisted it. I need to have the yarn on this side, and I need to have my stitches a little bit closer to work with. Yep. So, Susan, what I'm basically doing is I have one stitch left that's not in the round. So here in the space, that is my extra stitch, which I technically could have put. And then I'll knit those two. So the beginning of the round and the end of the round, I knit those two together. And since it is 3 rows of purl, but before I do that, I need to add a row counter, else I'll forget that one. Ta-ta! But what I'll basically do is I'll go into those 2 stitches and I knit them together. And that's me joining the round. Then I'll just keep carrying on doing purls here. Now it's warm, and compared to last night with -13 degrees Celsius. Yeah, I heard it was really cold, and I saw some amazing photos of people that's like, you know, been doing water out in the frozen weather. It definitely wasn't as cold here, but it was still like -6 to 11 degrees, depending on where you were in the Netherlands. But now it's suddenly a lot warmer. Probably primarily because the wind is coming from south. I was too tired to go outside and take pictures of Aurora Borealis. Yeah, I saw there was Northern Lights from my parents' place. Well, my parents were probably sleeping, so they didn't see it. But I saw some photos of people not far from my parents' place with all gorgeous photos, and I was like, oh my goodness. That would have been nice if it were there last time I was there. Or like at Christmas, you know, when my partner were there too, he would have been able to take some gorgeous photos with his camera. Actually, looking on these stitches, I could probably also have worked on my longer needles. But given this cable is a shorter cable, I think I'm fine with my shorties, to be honest. It gives a little bit less pull in the actual cable due to the length of the needles. So I am still reasonably happy with the choice I made. The red one we get here is gloriously stunning. Yeah, it was really like some of the photos I saw on Facebook. I was like, why? I would have loved to see that. Genuinely would have loved to see it. Of course, it does. To see Northern Lights really well, it does require that you're in an area that's not too polluted by lights. Like you're not in the center of the city, but more like a bit outside of the city. Because else it can get more difficult to see. And here in the Netherlands, there is generally quite a bit of light pollution. So the best places to see Northern Lights, if it's a really strong one, would be in the northern parts of the Netherlands. First of all, due to the location of the Netherlands as a country, we are further south. but also because in Friesland and Groningen there is a lot less light pollution. So there's that. Meanwhile, I'm curious if Susan caught how I joined this too. I tried the slip over join thingy method a bit ago, and that went horribly wrong for me. Last time at least, but maybe it's due to the way I'm casting on. So I could try to cast on in a different manner. I just like the fact that I don't need, or that I don't have a tail. I need to make sure it's long enough here. Replaying look. Cool. No worries. But it's joined, as you can see. We are joined. We are working completely joined. Here's the joint section, because that is where my stitch marker is. So here the join. It was also a tip that I found somewhere. I don't remember by whom, but it worked for me, and that's how I've done it since. I am going to need a reminder / tutorial on the cast off bit, because so far I've just decreased by my cast offs and then, you know, pulled it together, because it's been beanies mainly I've been casting off. So this is going to be a little bit different to me, and therefore henceforth I need a little reminder on how certain things are done, because it's been a while since I've done a regular cast off. Actually, I do not even care to try to calculate when that was, but definitely at least 20 years ago. But so far this is going smoothly, and it's going to go even smoother when I can do knits. These are pearls. When I can do knits, that's going to be nice and smooth. Work-wise. That said, these do work nice and smooth too. As you can see after the first row, this yarn slides very nicely on these needles. It is an ice yarn for those who haven't caught that. It is 100% superwash baby merino from ice. It came in hanks. It was caked up, but it was caked up already by my mom, because I bought this yarn and I asked her to knit me a sweater of it, which she did. And this is the leftover yarn from that sweater. Susan says she saw my method. It's okay for this project, but for more complex patterns like colorwork or detailed designs, it may not be the best. That might be true. That might be true. So it is definitely something I need to practice on, getting it joined, to see if I can find a better method. Or I need to consider a different way of casting on to be able to use a different method. That could also be. So that is something I need to write behind my ear to look into, but it is not on my priority list today. It is going to be something else. In this case, we are almost done with round 2. Susan likes to watch knitting YouTube videos to learn techniques. It's also not a bad idea. I watch videos as well sometimes to get tips and tricks for doing things. I've tried some things that work better than other things for sure. And I will definitely have a look at alternative cast-ons if there are any other methods that I could end up liking. Anyhow, we are almost through round 2. And now we are at the fiddly stage. I always find when you join, that point is always a little bit extra fiddly until you get the first couple of rows complete. So we are 2 rows down, which means 1 more row of purl, and then it's going to be a bunch of knit, which is going to be super nice, straightforward, right? So I do see that my light is horrible off because I do pop my hands up really, really bright. So we are gonna fix that for you guys. That's probably better. Less bright for you to watch. If you're watching, some of you are just hanging out and listening to me rambling on. I'm also not sure if we are gonna only work on this project all of the day. What is likely happening is I am gonna complete this row of purl, and then I'll do a row of knit, and then I may consider changing to the Daze Bag for the rest of this live. Unless you guys really want to see me knit. Ooh. Susan is receiving her Hobbii package today with some of scissors she got for 3 points. I am watching Hobbii right now as a hawk because I am going to pick up some Hobbii Twister Solid yarns once they go on sale. And I genuinely hope they go on sale either this week or next week. Their sales first go out Tuesday. So I'll first know tomorrow if they go on sale this week or next week, because then I can combine that discount with my birthday discount, and that would be really nice. And I need that for the Hat Collector Show, and that can then combine with me with my order of the yarns for Hobbii Points. And here I need to really consider what color I want to get of the Kremke Soul wool. It's their Morning Salutation yarn combined with yarn I already have. If I could find like a color that would really work well up, then I have potential yarn for either color work for a larger project, which is something that would be really nice. And then I have a little bit freedom if I want to knit or crochet with it. Megan says you can see if they feature it on live shopping, because then it's usually 40% off, which requires me to be able to catch the live shopping, which I generally don't seem to do. So I just checked the website tomorrow because I know that sales for the coming week goes up tomorrow. Da, 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 da. But yeah, so I have to say these needles really glide nice, smooth. And now I've tried both wooden needles and the aluminium needles, and I have to say, if I can make a preference, I'll take wood any day. They generally slide so much smoother. It's my experience so far. Da, 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 da. The yarn in the point store was dismissal to non-existent. You mean the choices you had, or? Yeah, I only had 5,000 points. Yeah, okay, that's a difference. I have a fair amount more than 5,000 points. I have more like 30 some odd thousand, which makes me. I have enough points to get 10 skeins of the Creme Castle Morning Salutation yarn, which yarn I already also have in my stash. I know what yarn it is. It feels really nice. I'm not completely sure what color to pick. I have been debating on different options, but I still need to make like a final choice. Hela says she didn't get a birthday discount from Hobbii. Oh, did you? Do you actually have your birthday listed on your Hobbii account? Because if you don't have your birthday listed, they don't know when to send you the birthday card. Yes, Susan, I do have lots of points. Some of these I got from the Hobbii Plus membership I had, but the Hobbii Plus membership was completely discounted this summer. So they don't have that anymore. They stopped using it. But I really got I racked up lots of points from that. And then when I made orders, I would get double points and stuff like that. So just among a few things. And then I believe not this year Christmas, but Christmas a year and a half ago. If the last week before Christmas, if you played the bingo, you would get like, I think it was 1,500 points or something like that, or 2,000. Like really like a lot of points in one go. And you could play Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. If you played Monday, the English version, Tuesday you would play the German version, Wednesday you would play the Danish version, and Thursday you would play the Swedish version. So that was like 8,000 points just on their own in a week. I don't know if they did it this year, because I genuinely didn't barely have time to actually play the bingo as much as I used to have. Which means that when we are closing up to ending this live, maybe we should play Hobbii Bingo, or remind us all to go play Hobbii Bingo, because that will be around when Hobbii Bingo starts that I'll end my stream. Hela says she believes she did get a birthday discount last year. Maybe Hobbii got cheapskates and are not giving out birthday gifts anymore. That would be rather disappointing if that's the case. But as I'm saying quite clearly, I'm also not picking up anything until those twisters go on sale. So, and when those twisters go on sale, that's also when I'm gonna pick up my point store yarn, because obviously I'm not gonna pay for shipping. I'll make sure there's enough in that order so I don't get to pay for shipping. Right now it's 29 euros, so it's not like a big purchase. I'll see what's on sale and I'll pick it up. I saw that the new wool cakes were on sale past week, which makes me know that that's not going to happen for when the twisters go up, I think, which is a shame. Twister solids, let's be completely sure that we actually talk the same language. Susan says all her points were just from 2 years of bingo. Yeah, I've done some bingo, so some of my points are from bingo, but a lot of my points are honestly from purchases. I am definitely a person who shops on Hobbii a fair bit, but also for a while I haven't been as much as I used to do. Like the past year, I did get some things on Hobbii, but I've definitely not gotten as much as I might have done in the past. My general yarn purchases has decreased a fair amount. We are almost through with the next row, which means that after I've done 3 rows of knits, it's time to do, sorry, of purl. It's time to change to knit. I almost gotten used to purling, but I know that knit will go quicker with how I do things. And hopefully that will help the yarn curl a bit less, or the fabric which I get created. But yeah, so short version is definitely that I'm shopping less on Hobbii than I used to. Last year and then of 2024, I definitely did shop less due to when I lost my old job, until I knew what the future was. But also now it's just a question of space issues, basically. Like, why am I buying yarn if I have plenty of yarns to use? Unless it's for a specific project, I really don't have that yarn in stock. That said, I don't want my points to expire, especially if I can get free yarn for it, valued for close to 50 euros. I'm definitely gonna pick that up for free. And then that was the round complete. But I'm generally trying to purchase less yarn, especially if I don't necessarily need it. So 1 more row done. And then we are gonna check. Then it says row 4 to 12 knit. So I did row 1 to 3 purl complete. Time to knit, my friends. Time to knit. You can test second first will needle extensions now. Oh, I just hope that my math works out, which I think it does based on this. But I could definitely throw on extension cables if I wanted to. But I'm actually just sort of going to try to trust that it's going to be fine. Or would that be so terribly wrong? I can knit, my friends. I can just knit. I think you could run 132 stitches. I think so too, based on the math I did. So as I said, I did measure that test swatch on the width without stretching it. I just tried to lay it out so it was like nice and even. And then I measured it and it said 3.5 inches. Like if I would pull it, it would go 4. That was about it. So I did definitely need a few extra stitches for not having an overly stretched version. So I have a feeling I should be fine. Susan says she made this cowl with 90 stitches, though that a thicker weighted yarn like worsted weight. Oh, yeah, okay. Oh. Now I just need to make sure I actually do catch the right stitch, not like the previous stitch. But I go into the stitch at the right place. Get some yarn home. You get this nice marbled version once done. But I can definitely feel here after all the pearls that I definitely need to make sure that I go into the right stitch, because I do have a little bit of a tendency of catching the stitch, which is like the previous round. I did that this again time here. And then if I don't catch that on time, that's gonna turn into a mess, obviously. Oh, again. So this row is actually not as quick as I had expected it to be. I think that's first gonna be next row. You have a reasonably good idea of it when you see how it looks as you pull up the stitch. But further than that, I think we are going pretty smooth. And I am debating if I need to hold on working on this project a bit and have this as my bring with me project when I am heading off to Germany in 2 weeks' time. because that's going to be a 2 hours drive. That would be actually be nice to have something to work with in the car. And this is I think this is a good car project because it doesn't require you to think too much. So that is something that I personally really like. You know, it is a pattern that you can remember in your head because it's so straightforward. I don't know. So what are everybody working on today? Let me know. Obviously, I'm attempting to knit, which I would say generally goes pretty okay. We did end up putting on my shorties for it. And I will need to consider future knitting projects, which to some extent we have already partially covered. Because I want to make a shawl / scarf next, except for whatever rib knit beanies I churn out because of scrap yarns. I do have a few of those planned, plus the one I have on, and they will be multi-stranded, so I can do them the chunky version, so they will go on the 8mm needles. Susan says, I've already made this cowl with bulky yarn. Bulky yarn was 70 stitches, I believe, and the needles recommended with the yarn. Okay. Well, that's the same with crochet, right? You know, you just have to adapt to less stitches, especially if it's a pattern that can easily be adapted. In this case, it's very easy to adapt to difference. And it's just about knowing again what's your expected gauge. I am highly debating on doing one more row just to see if that actually fixes this issue that I'm fiddling with. Also, the benefit of this for this project being a car project is I don't have 2 strands I need to pull from and so on, like I have the rib knit beanies. So yarn wise, it's easier to keep track on this project as well. Me like. So that is probably what is going to happen, is that it is maybe going to be a car project for me. That would make good sense. Hello, Gloria. Welcome to this live. Good morning to you. I hope you've had an absolutely wonderful day. I do apologize for being my world of crochet, and here I'm sitting and knitting. But I'm also by MyWorld and the owner of BuyMyWorld.com, where I do sell some of my makes. And the next thing I should do, would want to do, I'd like to get into pattern designing. That is my goal for 2026, actually, next to sorting my stash in Ravelry. So now I'm actually curious, and I think I'm right, because I am continuing the knit part, because we are now on our 4th round, which means basically you are still knitting, but due to the former round being the purls, now the purls are a bit further down. I'm less likely to pick up a purl stitch by accident of the previous row for when I'm knitting. So this is already going somewhat quicker, because I see that I'm not by accident picking up the stitch of the previous row, if that makes sense. So I need to get the yarns joined up here, but generally, yes. So actually I am gonna finish that extra row, because that gives me that knit row done. And yeah, this is definitely, especially how smooth this sails now. This is going to be my car project in whenever I need to drive longer distances, and I am with as a co-driver, so to say, when I'm not having to do the driving. This is definitely going to be my car project. And I do have a few trips coming up. I am going to Germany in 2 weeks' time, and that is a 2.5 hours drive. Then, of course, I'll have an event in The Hague in the beginning of February, though. Yeah, I'll definitely need to bring a project there too, just to have something to work with if it's boring. And that could also be this one, because I don't think I will have it done by then. I have a feeling it's taking more time than that. But who knows? On the other hand, as I said, depending on how much yarn this one takes, number one, and I feel that I can make a number two, because I do have 2 full skeins, and this is a half skein that I started on. Then if I feel that weight-wise it's about the same amount of yarn to make a second, and that I just could make 2 out of them, then I'm probably just going to make a second. And then I could imagine me actually keeping one because it matches my sweater, and then maybe selling the other. The only downside of shorty needles is that you more often need to work the yarn up to sit on this working process section. So I could imagine if I wanted to do that, then I could be that I could maybe put on a longer needle on the holding end here, and then work with a shorty. That is also worth a consideration. anyhow, when I've done this row round, they need another 7 rounds before it's going to be 3 rows of purl. So that is still a fair amount of work. Da, da, da. But I am just cracking on here. And as I said, this particular case, I think this is mainly going to be this project, which I'm going to bring with me on the go, because I like the fact of its simplicity. There is only 1 yarn to keep track of, so it is super easy to bring with me. So you ladies who often bring knitting projects with you on the go, have you ever experienced your wooden needles break, snap? Especially your thinner needles, because I feel the 4mm is more likely to do it than the 8mm though, because it's thinner. I don't think it will happen, but you know, I would be really, really sad. Thank God you can buy them loose if it comes to that. Dun, 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 dun. Of course, that was the end of the round. I'll just do a single just to keep track of that stitch marker. I did an extra stitch. Susan never used wooden or bamboo needles. I can warmly recommend these wooden ones. It's smooth. They are really nice. But yeah, that would be my first 3 rows. You'll see you see the purl end here, which is, we can get the zoom correct. So on the other side, you see the stockinette. But we have changed, and now we're getting the stockinette on the front side. But we have done 5 rows of this project. 5 rows. And I'm thinking I could definitely do the long needles on this if I wanted to. I like the fact that the pull on the chain isn't, or the wire isn't as big, because I use my shorty needles. But I could also imagine possibly switching on the holding end to my regular needles and not the shorties. The shorties here are, so my regular needles are like, what, 4 inches? 4.5. And the shorties are just a bit more than 3 inches. So there's a bit more than an inch difference between them. I do have Clover fixed cable wooden needles. But yeah, fixed, not interchangeable. Maybe you should put some on your wish list. The interchangeable one with woodens, like, you know, for your birthday or Christmas. Like, you seem like a person to me, Susan, that you have everything you need, generally speaking. There is, of course, always things that can be better, but you know, I don't have the feeling you're missing many things in life. So maybe it's just a good wish list thing for birthday, because lots of people, including myself, finding it more and more increasingly difficult to figure out what I'm going to put on my wish list. I tend to, if I find something I want, I just add a link where people can buy it online. It's almost impossible to do it wrong then. So, you know, maybe you need to get yourself a pair of interchangeable ones for smaller sizes too. Would be my suggestion. Ta-ta! Let's look at this friend. The Daze for a bit, because the other one I can definitely easily do. What I also wanted to do, we could do that quickly first. Susan says, lol, yes, I all bought this Sheergo sets, but I can't justify the dollars. Yeah, they are expensive, but they look really nice. So, Susan, my suggestion would be put them on a wish list, especially if you have, I don't know, if you have multiple children, or like a round birthday coming up and they like all chip together to like buy one big present. That could be an option. Think about that. And it sucks on double point needles because I don't favorite magic loop. Right. So what I got is I actually got the double pointed needles in and these Knit Project Door cubics for my mom for Christmas. They have these double pointed needles as well. I'm keen to hear from her when she has knit her first pair of socks in them, if she likes them. I got her the 2.5 millimeters, 2.75, and 3 millimeters, so she has a few choices to do with. But I really like these. So what I think about these Jador sets or Jador needles is, so I actually like their cubics. I'm not necessarily saying, so people say they're good to people with poor hands, like arthritis and so on, because of them being cubics. Just pulling them out too easy to show them. So it's a bit dark, but as you can see, they're squared. What's important to know is that here you measure them from corner to corner. So not on the side, but diagonally. And that is where you get your 8 millimeters. So they're a little bit slimmer on side to side than they are diagonally, because diagonally is where you get your 8 millimeters from. I really like this wood. I do believe it's like a birch wood that they colored into this dark purple. What I really like is it's really smooth and they are lightweight. So that is really, really nice that they are so smooth. The numbers here, they are painted / printed on, so it's not embossed. But you can definitely feel it when you go over them that there is text. And it seems reasonably solid, but if you do measure them in a regular yarn measuring thing, you would need to test size where they go in through diagonally. That is where you will find it. And they also have them as double pointed needles. I'm not necessarily saying get them at Hobbii because that is expensive. If you do Amazon, I got these on Amazon for around somewhere between 50 and 60 euros. So that's more like maybe, let's say, 60 to 65 US dollars, which is a bit more reasonable price compared to the Sheergos, which are like, what, 250 plus? Which are gorgeous, by the way. Not saying that they aren't, but my goodness, it's expensive. They are expensive. Let's see if I'll pop on my screen here. Actually, this is a point shop, but we can go to the US site probably. Do Hobbii.com. Why not? That will be in US dollars. Knitting needles, they have their Knit Pro, but The particular the Jador Cubics here, you can also get them here in double pointed needles and also in smaller sizes. Where I would personally think they're quite nice. They feel really nice in the wood. You can get them both as 6-inch long and as 8 inches long for double pointed needles, depending on your preference. They also come in fixed version as well as obviously in the interchangeable ones. And here that sounds really expensive, 219. Jeez. What would that be here on this end? That shocks me. But that's why I'm saying don't get them from Hobbii, because they're really expensive on Hobbie's website. Here it's 119. That has to do with tariffs then. What? Where are they made? Where's Knit Pros made? Made in India, that's why. Gotcha. It's a 50% tariff. You get slashed on top getting Knit Pro. Holy crap. What? I'm so surprised. Sorry. I feel really bad for you guys. So apparently these particular needles are made in India. I don't know if all of Knit Pros are made in India, but that's horrible pricing. If that's really the case. They have the Sings too, but they are metal ones though. That sounds better already, the Symphony. Price-wise. But that's like, what, 15? What did the other cost individual? That's crazy. Yeah, no, it's the same. I think they're all made in India then. They also have them in carbon, just like this sheer goes. I'm so shocked at these prices. Like, my God graciousness. I'm almost like, the problem is I could buy them and send them, and that would probably be cheaper. But then if they conclude what's inside and they say made in India, then they're going to slap all those tariffs on top. So that's not even going to fix it. But holy crickets. Well, I have really one good suggestion for everybody in the knitting world. Don't vote for Trump for the re-elections when they come around. And hope whoever gets in there is going to do something about these tariffs, because this is ridiculous. Anyhow, that's not really why we were here. As I said, I am looking for the twisters. I did throw a few in my bag, and this is just partially discounted because I have a bulk discount, and I'm not sure I'm going to get all of them. This is just like a quickly throw in of things, because some of them I definitely already have. The French wheel I don't need actually, because I already have that color. But still, I'm not going to get all of them. I will get the coral and the flamingo, and the other ones is probably, I don't know. That would depend on what else is on sale when we get around there. But what I wanted to do was look at the point store. I see a dilemma, yeah. But that's a challenge still from the US supplier. They're still getting the tariff slapped on top for whatever they import, right? Because then their prices also go increasingly more expensive. But maybe you can still be lucky and find a reasonable price on Amazon, because on Amazon you would have more selling points. So that could maybe work. Amazon not .nl but .com. That should be the US. And we are delivering to United States of Americas, but that's not listed here on the top. I would have expected that. I guess that's all in the bottom. United Kingdom, no. I'm surprised. Mainland America. Is it because it knows that I'm not here? Oh, whatever. But just for fun. Knitbo Jador Cubics. What do they want for a set? I'm curious. I get prices in euros. I don't want prices in euros in this case. I want English, Espanol. I want USD. They don't even give me USD. I think it's because of my location. That's location related. So that's definitely a location thing. Here you have them. These are their deluxe set, 10 centimeters, about 13. So that's a special size, and they're a regular size. Here it's listed for 115 euros or 118. So that's definitely cheaper than. You might be able to get them on Amazon for a decent rate. You'll have to check. My experience is that Amazon gave me much better rates than any of the Danish knitting suppliers on these knitting needles. So I'm good with the needles for the time being. Did try knitting on tiny circular needles, but found holding short needles fiddly. It's also a bit of a getting used to be honest. These are the regular length ones. Anyhow, we are on the shop side of things because, as I said, I do have a crap ton of points. 32,530 points. I know that is a lot. So what I wanted to do with all these points, to spend up them all, more or less, and know that I wouldn't need to get anything for the next year and a half without being afraid of my points expiring, is to get this Morning Salutation vegan from Crochet Soul Wool. They are 3,150 per skein, which means that I can get 10 of them. It is 31% Lyocell and 49% cotton, which makes it quite breathable yarn. It is a natural fibers yarn. I do believe Lyocell is like from tree fibers. And they are 50 grams skein, so 1.75 ounces to 110 meters. 210 meters in yards is about 120-ish. And they come in all these lovely different colors. I already have 10 of these in Olive. I do believe it's 10. It could be 12, but I do believe it's 10. So I have 10 of these, but I also have a 10 in this, which is the rusty red. So I'm thinking I should get 10 more. I think both the Olive and rusty red will work well together if I wanted to do something color work with them. Or what I could do, I think I might get this brass, because that could go really well with the Olive, I think. Brass and Olive, these two would go nice together. I feel they would sort of match. Rega says, love that jam, waking up on top for myself in that one. See, that's my point. I want to make myself something in this yarn. So I'm thinking I should get 10 in a color that's similar to something I have. So that could be the brass, which would work with the Olive if I wanted to do color work. And then I have, of course, the rusty red, which works nice with the Olive. So I could also get something completely different. But I just feel like that speaks most. Or the cherry, I think this looks really nice too. I really like this red. That's hot. Or I could wait for it to go on sale. Which wouldn't happen on Hobbie's website, but you could get it on Linda Hobbii, for example. They sell it. Which is why I say like 10 of these skeins is about normal price, 47 euros-ish. It's just like $50 worth of yarn. But I really like this spread. But I'm debating if I should do the brass because of the color work potential with the olive. I don't know. Choices. If you have any suggestions, feel free to post. The gold is also pretty nice, actually. And that will work well with brass, though I feel brass and olive here works much nicer together. They're much closer. I feel the dark part of the olive here, or the brass, sorry, matches with the lighter colors here of the olive. So that's my plan. Rega says I have the red and the dark brown stunning colors. The red is really gorgeous. And then there's a dark brown. Is that the rusty red? Or is it, oh, chocolate? There's this one. This is a dark brown chocolate. Susan says shop your stash. Susan, I'm not buying this. This is free yarn for points. Free. I get it for free. I'm using my points so they don't disappear into thin air. Free. So I'm not buying this yarn. At least. These 10 skeins I will be getting for free. I'm just trying to figure out which 10. I also like this indigo color. It's really nice. But I'm thinking I should get the brass, like 10 skeins of brass to go with the olive. Because I feel they are closer to each other than necessarily the rusty red and olive. And I think the sherry and indigo was sold out last time I picked up yarn here. Because else I would probably have picked up one of those. But I think it's a nice color still. So if I throw all these in, look, this item costs 3,150 points per piece. I'd like pick up 10. Points gone. Don't expire. Yay. In my shopping cart. Then I can redecide on another stage. But I should find the pattern instead for the Daze Bag. English US. Yes. That's awesome. You have so many points. Yeah, I've collected in a long period of time. For example, when I bought some of these yarns for a great price. Don't ask me, I just work from the outside of this game. I could actually, because I still have this friend, put him on the yarn spindle. That would make sense. So I came around and I need to join. Oh no! Megan says she saved a bunch of points and she got the water bottle from the point store and then she dropped and broke it on the first time she ever used it. That's sad. That is really sad. So I need to stackety stack. So yeah, basically I want to use the points and get yarns. I And I don't want my points to expire, which they will start doing sometime this year. And that is why I want to pick up the yarn when I am going to get the yarn for, once it's on sale. I'm not in a rush, and I know the Twister Solids will go on sale at some stage this year. And when that happens, that is indeed, that is the wrong side. Sounds wrong. And I know that will happen within the next, let's say, 2 months. And I'll still probably be able to make and finish the hat collectors within that time. So I'm just going to be patient and wait for it to go on sale. Anyhow, the pattern here says that I need to continue do whatever I've been doing for the past few rows here until it is square lower section. Until it's 7 centimeters long, which is about 2 1/4 inches. So 7 centimeters, which is about 2 1/4. That's pretty close to one another. Anyhow, I have 5, or equaling a bit less than 2. So I am going to do this probably 1 round of double crochets, 1 round of single crochets, 1 round of double crochets, and then maybe if I want to make sure it's fully repeated, a round of single crochets. Are we gonna reach that in today's live? Probably not, but we'll see how far we get. And we are actually doing some crocheting, because that, my friends, is definitely needed. After all the knitting we just did, time to crochet. So far that is kind of like the only yarns I'm planning on getting is that Twister Solid, so I can make this ideal shawl. And then of course I will shop my stash, plus I will get the yarns for my points, because the points are free. Henceforth the yarn is free. Let the points expire, you throw away free yarn. And it is yarn that is not the cheapest yarn, so it feels really a waste if I would just not pick it up. That is my thoughts of it. Rege has to take off now because she's picking up her biggest kid from work, leaving the live on. Thank you so much, Rege, for your consideration. Take care, and I don't know if I'm done when you're back. Depends on how quickly you're picking up your kitty. Kiddo would be more appropriate. Kitty sounds more like a kitty cat. Which then reminds me, I saw this lately. I've started watching some of these shorts made with a cat, saying like, you know, the word of the day, or people allowed to, or whatever. And then you have this, he's at some stage, he's like, you have anger management, so you're not allowed to be angry, but you don't have courses for being stupid or something like that. So basically you're not allowed to be angry, but you're allowed to be stupid, and I found it a bit hilarious. Yeah, I'm got stuck. So, but sometimes they do come with some really, really funny phrases, which seems to be really fitting with the mood of the day. But yeah, so it is meanwhile 4:25 p.m. Central European Time. I can already also tell you guys, I can see that it is slowly getting a bit lighter outside, that we are getting well past equinox. It's now been like, what, 3 weeks ago? And you can really feel it's not as dark as it was around 2 or 3 weeks ago this time. Which means, my friends, we are heading towards spring. That is something that I'm really looking forward to. It's better weather. I want to get more outside, doing some walks or just a trip on the bike or something like that. That would be really nice. Susan asks, what's for dinner? So today's dinner is a combination of leftovers, and it's going to be a classic combined with an omelette. So the omelette is going to just be extra filling for the leftovers. So we went to visit some people yesterday, and we first got home around when it was kind of dinner time. So we picked up some takeaway. And there is a few leftovers from the takeaway, but not for a full meal for 2 people. So what I'm doing is I'm just making an omelette to go on the side with whatever is left. That is currently the plan. I'm debating if I should make some lumpias to go with it, which is like spring rolls. That could be. So it's just more like an easy, quick meal tonight. Then afterwards, the plan is to head to the fitness center. And then in the evening, well, actually, I'm probably going to do some groceries on the way as well. So I'm probably going to do some groceries. And because it is not warm outside, it is like temperature is like the fridge. I'm probably going to do groceries and then drive straight to the fitness and let the groceries stay in the car. And then from the fitness, drive home and stuff it away. Then it's TV time, social time with my partner. And I will be knitting on my red knit beanie. I should be able to get so far that I only need to decrease and close it off. But that might first happen tomorrow, because I don't want to fiddle with closing off that while I am watching TV. But if that happens, I could always bring this Simple Yet Effective Cowl with me behind the couch and work on that instead. That is an option, a ready available option, so to say. I have been debating on, because I am actually crocheting this in a 0.5 millimeter. So the pattern called for a 4 and a different yarn. I'm working in the needle semi-recommended by the yarn. I do believe it actually says 5. No, it says, yeah, 5.5 actually, it even says. So I'm working in a smaller. Learn something. Anyhow, I do believe I've done it in a 4.5 before. So I am debating if I want to make an extra round. So it does say 7 centimeters, but when I'm looking on the photo of the pattern, I have a feeling that it would also be nice if it just had 1 extra repeat, which is like, how high is that even? It's 2/3 of an inch. Is my thinking. Let me actually pop you guys over to be able to see that. So if I do like this, and we do like this, if you look here is the bag that I'm trying to make. And I feel this bag could easily use a bit more depth, like a little bit length here. That it would be absolutely fine doing 1 row extra. to increase a little bit of length in what you can have in it, carry in it. 2 I'm not sure about, but 1 would be fine. That's my thinking. And I do believe I should have yarn for this too. It is the sand color I'm currently working in here. Just cracking on. This yarn, unfortunately, is a yarn where you may see coloring differences on the dye lots, and that is likely due to it being a recycled yarn, that it is a bit more sensitive to dye lots. I've definitely seen color differences on some, and sometimes it's not an issue. It all depends on what you have to do, obviously. But yeah, so that's my thinking, that I could make it a bit longer here in the bottom of the bag. So dinner is easy, and today is easy. Tomorrow, I gotta catch up on a few work aspects, because today, before I went live, this morning, I also visited my dentist for my half-yearly checkup, and good news, it all looks nice, handy, fancy, and dandy. They do want new x-rays of my teeth next summer, so this coming summer. And then I got my teeth cleaned, so they removed tooth stone and stuff like that. Now that definitely took a little bit longer than one could have hoped for, but it is including in my, it's included in my healthcare insurance. So of course, so I pay only a minimum amount for teeth cleaning. It's like 10 euros addition I have to pay for it. But the requirement then is also that you do visit your dentist once every like 6 months for your this part of the insurance to be valid. So that was quite nice, but that means that I am technically needing to work a little bit extra, and I'm probably going to have to do that. I think I'm going to do that tomorrow, and I may see if I can throw in an extra hour, because I actually kind of want to see if I could do a work day less or an hour less on Friday. Wouldn't that be nice? But yeah, so that's just in the thinking, in the thoughts. No decisions made. Anyhow, we are working towards the bottom of this, and I really think I want to do that single extra row, or if I'm on the edge on the length, well, I'll add the extra repeat. I just haven't figured completely out if they want that to end on single crochets or double crochet row. Start here. Work alternatively 1 row of single crochets the wrong side and 1 row of double crochets from the right side with 1 stitch in each stitch for 7 centimeters. Finishing with a round of single crochets from the wrong side. Okay, good. See, that was the important part. Gotcha. So yes, it did set in the pattern what I should do then. Coolio. But I will have to do at least one more row back and forth, and then we'll see where we are lengthwise. So that is finishing this round, then doing 3 more. So that will be 1 row of single, 1 row of double, 1 row of single. And then we will have to measure the height and see if we are anywhere close to where we want to be. But yeah, it's already Monday and the working week has begun. Then we have 4 days left of that. Then it's weekend. Then next week it repeats. Haley, if you're still watching, I realized one thing. If you missed your birthday coupon, maybe it's in your spam. But then it's too old by now. Or no, maybe you'll have to do it. It's probably expiring today then. Well, check your spam box. And if it's not there and you want to get something from Hobbii, then I'll definitely write support and say you missed it. And then support can always get to tell you if it's definitely not a thing anymore. But yeah, that would be kind of disappointing, honestly. So that was all the way around. Then we need to join and turn the work around. Ta-ta. So we'll definitely work on the joining part. I also need to weave in ends, because I've not done that yet. But I don't necessarily need to weave ends right here, right now. I just need to not forget it. This row is super quick, or super quick, I'm not necessarily saying, but super simple because it is single crochet in each stitch all the way around. So yeah, maybe this is gonna be our project for Wednesday. See if we could finish this one. Because I am of course going live on Wednesday. Then on Friday we'll have a yarn talk video and get to talk about all of the projects and the new ones and the ones I finished. Yep. And then on Monday we have the first of the sort my stash and stocking it on Ravelry with all the yarns I already stashed there. So far, what's on the Ravelry, of course, is the yarns that I added there after doing the Shop My Stash and Advent calendar. And then I will be adding to that stash as I continue sorting that stash and getting it added. Then we will see how much yarn I have, how many lifetimes do I need to complete, how many years before I've emptied my stash. Like, I'm thinking, or I'm hoping, I don't know which is the more appropriate. But I guess subconsciously, I hope that if I do this and get it done and sorted and everything, then maybe it can help me make some harder decisions, such as selling yarns. To make room in that stash for other yarns, right? Yarns that doesn't speak to me in the same way as I thought they would, for example. So that is my current thinking of what I want to obtain with it, but also, of course, it just generally have a better overview of what I actually practically have. But yeah, so we are cracking along here, single crochets. Susan says, good thinking. I crank out donation hats with yarn I don't know what to do with, or hold double and hand knit a hat, or crank knit. Yeah. So with your circular knitting machine. I still think these red knit beanies that I'm making, I have this feeling that it's likely going to end up as a donation project. And I will see how much yarn I have left. When we get there. Yeah, holding yarn up double or triple uses up pretty quickly. It's more like, I think, the size of the needle or crochet hook in this case, because obviously thicker yarn gets used up more quickly, and when you double holds things, it gets thicker, requires you to use bigger needles or hooks. So that in that sense is pure logic. And obviously, if you double hold something, it's used up twice as fast. I definitely have multiple yarns in my stash, which I'm not completely defined with project-wise. And some of those yarns I can option to sell to make more room. And some of them are going to as donations, and some of them I might actually physically sell on my website. Crocheting lap blankets for donation uses about 1,000 yards, and they work up fast in simple stitches. Valid. I like the idea of being able to, for example, donate some beanies for a good purpose. Like for homeless people or people in a crisis center and things like that. And I should have been much quicker to do it already, because it's kind of now they need them. So maybe what I will need to do onwards is more. Now I need to check if that's, I think, not a stitch. That is the of the previous row. From what I can see, yeah, it's a connection. But I can't do much about that now. But I am going to have a box or bag, or it's probably more going to be a cardboard box, where I am going to put in the projects which will be going up for donation, so to say, by donation pieces. I also bring the hats to my local food pantry. I don't know if we have one of these here, actually. So what I really need to get better at is to check what we have in the area for some of the things I have, which I have excess. And I do know that we are getting a crisis center or refugee center here not far from us, actually, just a couple of kilometers away. The government has decided, together with our municipality, to place a refugee center. Here you can think about people fleeing countries in war, such as Ukraine, but not just Ukraine. It could also be other places, but yeah. It is progressing very nicely indeed. We are back on the double crochet, which means that we have done 2 rows together, because this is where we started, where the yarn points out, but I'm just gonna, for funsies, measure. So when I am done with this, it's gonna be 7 plus the single crochet row. And then, as I say, I have a feeling I'd like to add 1 extra row, which, while not in the pattern, I just have a feeling it would make it just that much more roomy, which is just by, you know, this much. So it's not much, but yeah, based on the view of that photo, I have the feeling that might be needed. But we will have to have a look at that when we get there. First of all, I'll finish this row and then do the row of single crochets. And then I'll read the pattern and see what it says, just to double check and do some measurements, because I have to do some decreasing rows and then you have to sew together in the bottom. And I will then probably check how many rows further that I would decrease and then get an idea if I think I should add that extra or not. But that's not going to happen today. That I can say for sure. But yeah, I'm definitely going to have to look at possible places to donate some of my crafts, which doesn't necessarily go just to the general clothing recycle facility, because that clothes goes to, like, that doesn't go to, like, we do have a recycle, like we can recycle old clothes, and those fabrics often just gets chopped up and recycled. For example, in this case, recycled cotton. And that's not the intention of the labor I did. I would rather than donate it to homeless people, if they take that, actually. So I will have to do some research on that. And worst case is I can bring it to Denmark and donate it there. So that is my current thinking when it comes to some of my excess things. But we are cracking on here. I have to say, and that's kind of the downside of this cotton. It is a little bit rough on my hand. You can actually see that on my finger already. I'm getting yarny fingers. And not because I hold the tension high or anything like that. It's just the yarn, it's rough. This yarn I also wouldn't use for clothing except for hats. So it's more like a dishcloth type. Probably would also be fine for pot holders and stuff like that. But it is more of a rougher yarn, so it's definitely not a yarn that I would consider friendly for clothing garments. One thing is, for example, this white is a lot softer compared to the sandy color, and I don't know why that is. But yeah, some yarns does it more than others to my hands. This is notoriously actually quite bad for doing it. Susan says, when I crochet with 100% cotton, I need to take lots of breaks. Yeah, it's probably just a cotton, but fun thing is, for example, if I would crochet with the 8/8 cotton, I have less issues with it, but that's also a lot softer cotton. This is technically also an 8/8 cotton, but this is recycled. Like when I've made the beanies, not beanies, bucket hats in the spring, that cotton is a lot nicer to actually to work with. It's less rough on my hands. And I'm fearing a bit I am collecting scraps because I'm like, oh, that could be so fun maybe to make a basket or a holder or whatever at some stage of scraps from this cotton. But if I get there, that's gonna be painful as well, like, triple strand or something like that. I have a granny square bottom back in the works, but I switch off with other projects when my hand starts hurting. Good plan, good plan. Well, we are about to close off soon. A minute more of crocheting. Then it is getting closer towards the end here, because it is almost 5 p.m., which means that I need to prep for some dinner. I cleaned up the mess which I've made on this table. The mess could be worse, trust me. I've definitely had worse days. But I'm sure we will finish this bag this month, because why wouldn't we? I think we might actually just continue working on this on Wednesday. It could be that I continue earlier. I would debate on other things. Yes, Hobbii Bingo. It is Hobbii Bingo for the UK or English, which means that I need to find my Hobbii. I think I'm probably not on I'm on the Danish one. So I need to do the British one. And then I can pop into the Hobbii Bingo. Oh, it says, please enter your email address. Tap to sign in. Okay. I don't need to. Yeah, well. It's forgotten me. Password. Oh, goodness. Please tell me I can remember. Let's try this one. Yes, it remembered me. Yay. Hobbii Bingo ready and running. Don't forget to join Hobbii Bingo if you are the English version, or if you're not having your Hobbii app set to the English version, you will not get Hobbii Bingo. They're getting cards ready. Make sure you get in before they get the cards ready, because then you can get to play 2 rounds. If you first join when the first round is started, you should still get the bonus points. That will be between round 1 and round 2. So get your interest in that point, and that is 25 free Hobbii points for playing Hobbii English Bingo. You can, under the settings page, set your country to English, and then you will be able to join the English Bingo if you're not on the right location-wise. And we have host. Wonderful. Hobbii Bingo is ready, ladies and gents, which means that I will unfortunately have to dustle off and get some dinner cooked because it's 5 p.m. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I had a most wonderful time in your company. I am going to be back on Wednesday with a Wednesday live. Yep, we are going to go back and be back Wednesday with a live. Again, around 2 p.m. Central European time is the plan. So that will be about 8 a.m. Eastern. I'll be back Wednesday. Until then, I'm going to say thank you so much for watching. Take care and happy crafting. Love you all. And until next time. Bye.